One. Okay. So, hi guys. Welcome to, I guess technically this is another episode.
Yeah.
Because we're going to air this later. So, welcome to another episode of Kinda Adulting. And on this episode, we are featuring She Well Read. We were really excited to have the ladies from She Well Read on because, for one, I've known them for a little while, and I think that we kind of have, very similar platforms trying to reach like the same crowd of people. And two, because a lot of our listeners have asked us to provide some book recommendations. And I think the ladies of She Well Read kind of specialize in this area. Okay. And then they're our age, right? So then they can help the people that are our age looking to read some more. So we thought we'd have them on. So first, would you guys, introduce yourselves, tell us about where you guys are currently kind of adulting, anything you want to share.
All right, Lana.
I was like, I really wonder if she's gonna make me go first. Well, hi, I'm Alana, and my kind of adulting is I live at home at the moment, attempting to save for a house for 2021.
Wow.
Good.
It's not as glamorous as it seems. It's hard, especially because I have two younger siblings. One is 12, and the other one is 8. So it's fun around here. But anywho, I currently work at Blue Cross as a business analyst. And I started working there in February. Yeah, that sounds right. So post-panoramic, or pre-panoramic, I should say, not post. So yeah, that's my kind of adulting life at the moment.
Cool. And thank you for including your job, because I meant to say that, but I kind of forgot. So
Yeah, no problem.
Yep, here I am. I'm Samra. And I kind of adult from Birmingham, Alabama. I am a digital assistant at Martin Advertising. So I've been doing that for a few months now. And that's my kind of adulting life.
Cool. And are you guys originally from the Birmingham area?
No, I'm not.
Oh, I don't think I knew that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm originally from New Orleans, actually.
Okay.
And then we moved after Hurricane Katrina to like the Houston, and then I moved to Katy area, which is like the suburbs of Houston. So
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
When did you guys graduate college?
Same year as us.
Oh wait, year, sorry, 2019.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we're all in the same time period of being kind of adults, so thought it would be kind of perfect. And then also, can you guys tell us a little bit about your platform and like what you guys are trying to achieve?
Right.
Samra, this is so funny because Samra really is like this, like in real life. So this is very funny.
Yeah, this is the truth. I don't know, Lana, did you want to read our like actual mission statement, or are we just freestyling this?
Dang, we need to step it up. Y'all got a whole mission statement?
Yeah, written down.
Well, literally.
So
use it for everything.
To create.
Yeah, it took a while.
If y'all hear this like meowing, it doesn't even sound like meowing, but it's my cat.
It's all good. Y'all heard my struggle, so just
yeah, Lana, I kind of feel like you should kind of do this one because you always say it. You're gonna put it together better.
Well, I appreciate that you feel that way. I always feel like I butcher it every time. But basically, our platform is about basically empowering women to read. And kind of how this all started for us was that we had just graduated. We were trying to figure out life, trying to find, big girl jobs, and just really in this place of like, what's happening next? And we both realized, we needed an outlet. We needed something like that was for us, that wasn't like school related. And so we were like, we both had this love for reading before we started college, and all we read was textbooks. And so really this was Samara's idea. She was like, oh, I'm gonna start a book club and da 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 da. And I was like, oh, like that's so awesome. And I had just gotten into like podcasts and podcasting and all of that. And so I was like, Samara, what would be really cool? Like if there was like this traveling book club podcast type thing where anybody from anywhere could listen in and chime in, and just creating this community, because I feel like we're not the only ones feeling like this, that we need this kind of like extracurricular activity outside of our main adulting lives that we're starting. And so that's pretty much how the podcast came to be.
No, that's super dope. I think we probably had the same vision in mind. I don't think this would have really happened if we weren't in the pandemic, but it was cool that it kind of kicked it off for us. But yeah, I think we have very like similar goals here. And, like I said before, I think we're both trying to reach like the same audience. And so that's why we thought it'd be perfect to have you, like I said before. And specifically, we're all like a year and a half into this life, kind of going through similar struggles, right? And so to start, right, like I was originally going to ask what your favorite all-time novel or book is, but I think we should like specify more and say like, what is your favorite book right now? Because I think that it would be more fitting to like your, young adult life in whatever way. So if we could start off with that, that'd be great.
Wait. So our favorite book, like right now that
right
we're
now,
reading,
just
or
right
like,
now, like if someone
the
were
one that
asking
I
you,
just like the most right now.
you could say that, yes. Which one is
I'm not
like
reading a book right now,
doing it for you right now?
Okay.
And so mine would still be what I said earlier. It'd still be Elaine Welteroth. That's what I would recommend, off bat. But like, what are yours?
That's a great question. I totally came prepared, but not for that. But this because that's hard. I have so many books that I'm like I'll start a book and then I'll be like, all right, I need a break from this for a second, and then I'll start another book, and then I'm like, okay, but I'm gonna go back to that other book, but they're all like intertwining at the same time. But I would say one book that I've pretty much finished reading that I've really enjoyed so far, that I would honestly kind of consider like life-changing for right now for me, is Untamed by Glennon Doyle. It's really, really good.
I've seen that on Amazon. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's like this really bright, I could probably get it for you in a second, really bright, colorful book. But basically it trails like her life, but also dropping in like those women empowerment tips. And she just covers so much in this book. It's a lot of different topics, but I would feel like it's kind of self-help in a sense without feeling like a self-help book, which I enjoy because self-help books don't do it for me all the time, but this one does. And one section of the book that really grasps me into it, I guess, is she was talking about this time where she brought her daughter to the zoo and they went to this cheetah show. And basically they had this golden retriever, I think that's what the dog was, and there was this like toy on this truck, and they basically incentivized the dog to run towards the truck, and then they brought out the cheetah and it was like, ooh, let's see how much faster the cheetah is compared to the dog. And like the cheetah was in this cage and it just looked really sad, and it was like it knew like once this cage opens I'm supposed to run towards this thing and then I'll get a reward at the end of it. And so her daughter posed this question like, man, like that cheetah looks like really upset, like da 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 da. And then Glennon started thinking, the author, she was like, if only that cheetah knew how much power it really had, like it could really rip everyone's head off in here if it really wanted to. So it was kind of like a metaphor, like finding your own self-power, and like you don't understand how much power you actually possess, and really trying to tap into that. So that's the main part of the book that I really enjoyed.
And like, how do you feel like that lesson like related more to like your 20s now, like as a recent college grad?
Yeah, so I feel like now, like, I have a lot of times where kind of like, what is it called, imposter syndrome, where you feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm doing all of these things and everybody's telling me I'm doing a great job, but like I don't feel like that. And you kind of underestimate yourself and what you're doing. Like you have all these plans you want to get done, but you're like, am I truly fit to do what I'm trying to do? So I think that's something that a lot of people face, and especially like coming out of college, like you might have thought you were going in one direction and then it's like, haha, psych, life leads you in another one. And it's kind of scary. So I think that was one where it's like, you know, you have the power to do this if only you understood that.
I love
Yeah.
that.
No, I love that sentiment about like imposter syndrome too, because I really relate to stories about that, especially when you see people like turn out to be very successful in the end, because like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like, you know, where we grew up, like our environments that we grew up in, but I know for personally, I struggle with imposter syndrome like all the time, to the point like I get anxiety. And so it's very important for me to like read stories with people who have done very well, but then also can relate and say like, yeah, there were times like that. And like when I go in to talk about my own book, I would definitely say like that's kind of what, you know, what's the word, pulled me towards it, you know?
So who's next?
I'm letting our guests go first.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
that's why I said when I say my book, you know.
Okay.
That's sweet. I don't know. I feel like this is a really basic, like I think it got really popular in really mainstream, but this book by Rupi Kaur called Milk and Honey is a book that really changed my life, changed my perspective, because it's almost like a coming of age type of book where she's in a relationship and you know she goes into like learning all these things about herself and eventually the relationship ends and it's about her like feeling those emotions really passionately, like the intense loss, but then also picking herself up from that place and like really getting intimate with who she is and loving every single part of her and being really raw and natural and like how that's enough. And it's poems and it's drawings that she does, so it's this really beautiful like story, and it's really quick and like something that you can pick up and don't get tired of. So I feel like that's something that has had an impact on me during my like recent life because um I was in my first relationship a couple years back, like real relationship, I guess. And, you know, the growth that came from that relationship ending was really ridiculous and something that I just, you know, it's like you don't know until you know. And so like that healing, I feel like I really related to when Rupi Kaur wrote Milk and Honey. It's really good. You should read it if y'all haven't read it.
I'll go next.
Okay.
Mine is More Than Enough. I know I mentioned that earlier, by Elaine Welteroth. And I feel like this book really stuck with me because she was like, I don't know, she's very creative. Not that I relate in that sense. I mean, I think in some ways I am, but like she didn't know really what she wanted to, like she knew she had an idea, right? But like when she started off, that's not what she started with. And it was kind of something that she came into later through like open doors, you know, in terms of like her going out and really like searching for, you know, these magazine roles. Like she knew she wanted to be a magazine, but she didn't know, I guess, like her end goal, right? And like, I don't know if you guys have seen recently, now she's on a talk show. She's on one of the like women. I think it's The Talk, yeah. So she's on there now. And I don't know, that book just really resonated with me. Like I remember when I finished it, I just smiled because it just felt like I was on this journey with her of like trying to figure out what she wanted to do. Her really trying to find like her place, you know, and even when it came to like holding herself to a higher standard and like being like, I really am, you know, important, I'm enough, I deserve to be here, you know, like I don't care what you say, like I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna make a difference, whatever. It really just resonated with me because like I have to like give myself pep talks all the time, you know, and I just felt like her story was really inspiring to me, especially like being in my young 20s because she reached all these goals like before 30ish, you know, so it's like okay, I could also do that, and I struggle with imposter syndrome, but I'm gonna get there, you know. So I think that's why it really like resonated with me.
And so like I read that book, right, as well. It was like part of our book club book that me and Simone or that we're in. And I feel like that book, I was trying to find the quote that I have on my vision board, like back in DC. But I remember like from that book, something that really like resonated with me was like her world came crashing down a lot of times. Like I couldn't like completely relate to the romantic side of it. But like I remember when it was supposed to be like, she like her name, like the minute in her book, like it was like supposed to be husband, right? Simone or like whatever, like
Yeah.
like
Was that her high school boyfriend or the rich one?
the rich one. It would be like
Okay.
my like supposed to be husband or like husband that like basically she was like needed to be, and like he cheated on her, right? And like they were engaged or something. It was like really serious. I remember like they were definitely like, living together. And like think just hearing her like life, like feel like it was like, you know, she's like, I don't know what to do. Like my whole life was sitting around this. Like I am professional, but like having that big moment kind of crash in front of you. And it took her a long time to get out of it. And I feel like that was really important to hear. Like I feel sometimes we in our 20s, especially social media, people tell you to like let things go and move on really fast. Like whether it's like cutting off a friend or a person or cutting off a dream, it's like, okay, but like girl, pick yourself up and keep it moving. And she was like strong enough to admit, like, no, it took me like after you cheated on me and that we both talked about it, it took me like months to get out. And I feel like that's something that we don't hear enough. People don't want to kind of talk about their weaknesses and talk about how like it's not like I always say we live in a cut off culture. We really do, of like cut people off, cut things off, like next day, keep it moving. But we don't always give people the time to grieve reality. So I think it was good for me because I struggled with that, kind of moving on from big life moments, that she took a long time to deal with that. And that she was able to admit it and not like say like, oh yeah, she cheated on me and I moved on next day. Like this was my whole life came crashing down. Like my whole plan of my life came crashing down, and I didn't make it rosy. Like it took me some time to pick myself back up because I feel like in my time in my life I've had big things that I had planned around, centered around, crash in front of me, and it's been devastating. And I find it really hard sometimes to get that sympathy from people around me to be like, hey, this is devastating to me. But and we're in a cutoff culture. People are like, okay, well, that sucks, girl. Like, what's the next step? And it's like, I'm still in that moment. Like, I'm gonna need that moment. And I think in our 20s, we don't talk about those moments enough of being kind of in the valley and just being like, I'm struggling and I'm gonna struggle until I feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I need
such
to read that.
Yeah.
Oh, you do. It's really good.
Yeah.
Like I remember being on the train when I read the last page. Oh, what were you saying, Elise?
I'm saying like a lot. I mean, that's like one thing, but a couple things in her life came crashing down, right? And that stuff is hard. And we don't talk about it enough when you have money put into things when her career crashed, type of crash, and you're like,
and like you mentioned that relationship, most of her relationships were like that. I feel like that also gave hope because now she's in love.
right,
like,
right. I
very
mean,
happy. But like she went to
years?
college for her boyfriend.
It was like 6 years.
She was supposed to go to Stanford or somewhere like that. Ended up going to like Long Beach State or whatever to be with him. So it really like you kind of see like her progression, you know. But yeah, you definitely do. I was on the train when I read the last page, and I remember just like smiling on the way back because I just felt so at peace when I was done. So I definitely suggest it.
Those are the best books when you feel like that. When you finish it.
Elise, was that your book too?
I can't find, no, it's not. I can't find the quote, but I think the quote on my vision board is like, basically like you just have to keep moving forward, like life will, like I just remember like you said, it's all about the divine steps we take. You have to kind of believe that it's like it's all working for your good, even though it may not be working for your, feel like you're working for your good at that moment. And I think that's kind of what she did. She was like, I'm gonna keep it moving. Like, I can't stop. Because like we hope like, you know, like life is like divinely centered around a big goal that we have. But no, it wasn't my book.
Okay. You
You
can go
want
ahead
me
and
to?
say your book.
Okay. My book is actually A Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes. And so I read this book a while ago. I actually read it in my junior year of college. I had just studied abroad in South Africa for 4.5 months. It was pretty life changing. And then I came back and felt like a very different person. And so I didn't read the book before I became a like kind of adult. That book I still reference a lot because that book was a big shift in my life. And The Year of Yes, if you don't know about the book, is a really short book. You should guys should read it. It's like it's 300 pages, talk about Shonda Rhimes and how she kind of gained success at a point, but then felt really stuck and didn't really know what to do. So she committed herself to a year of just saying yes to opportunities. So if someone would ask her to like go somewhere, she wouldn't stay in the house. She would say yes. If someone asked her to write a script that she was hesitant about, she would say yes because she was so used to saying no or like running away from things or someone asked her on a date, she would say yes. Because she was like, I need to have life experiences. Like I need to allow myself to like accept what's coming good to me. And so I read the book a while ago. I still reference it sometimes, but the book was life changing for me because I feel like at that time I was so trying to plan out my life and trying to plan out things and like just saying yes to things was really and like just allow myself to like have experiences. Like I think even when I moved to DC, like I was very open to doing whatever I wanted to do, like whatever experience it was, wherever someone was going, like I was always trying to do something new because I realized like if I don't say yes to things, like then I'm running away. Like I may not know it in the moment, it may be comforting, but I'm not going to learn anything a lot of times. I'm just controlling my environment from sitting in my house, from not meeting new people, from not like taking risks. And it was great. I definitely had some weird moments, you know, in my life where I did say yes and I was like, strange, but I think those made the best stories. And that quote, so that book also was a big quote, was also like, I read that book and then I had a quote on my wall on my dorm that year. And it was like something, oh, it was an Oprah quote. And it was like, you get what you, I'm gonna Google it. Hold on. I would say it right.
I was
What's the
gonna
no,
say.
what's the like
I don't want to
elevator
say it
music?
wrong. It's not in my head right.
No, you're good. That reminded me. I said I was
Oh,
gonna
I
do.
got it. Okay, yeah, go on.
Oh, I forgot about this experiment that I was gonna do once we're out of the pandemic, where for a whole week I'm just gonna flip a coin on like decisions and see what happens. And it's like yes or no.
Yeah, I said yes to so many things my first year in DC. I remember I kind of came in, I think we're scared a lot of time. I think we're scared to try new experiences. We're scared to put ourselves out there. I had this crazy goal of going 40 first dates, like my first year in DC. I did not get that far, but it was like that openness that like to just put yourself out there because if you don't, like what's gonna happen? But the quote that I had on my wall that was really impactful with reading that book was like, you get in life for what you ask for. And I think as a Black woman, we don't always take agency for things we want. And so I had a quote on my wall and I saw it every day for like 6 months. And I asked for things. Like I asked people to treat me right. I asked for I asked for raises and jobs that like at college I negotiated like as like a work study student. I was like, you should pay me the max. And they were like, okay. I made my own job eventually. Like I started my own club. I got funding just by like asking. And I think that's like a big lesson that I taught myself, like even Shonda Rhimes' book too, is like you have to ask for things what you want. Like life is not always just gonna give it to you. You kind of have to put yourself out there and be okay with just saying yes, accepting things, and asking for things that you feel like you deserve or that you want. And I feel like I need to do that more. I feel like I got kind of comfortable now being like an adult. I kind of go to my job, I do what I need to do, I live my life, and you kind of get used to this bubble, right? Of what you can control now that you have your own money, you have your own space, you have your own things. But like, how often are we telling people, no, this is what I want to do, or like, this is what I want at work, this is what I think you should pay me, this is what I think I need. And when they say, okay, then you're like, oh crap, you have to kind of go with it. So it kind of goes back to the year of yes too, because then you just say yes. So they're like, okay, so can you do this? And you're like, I guess so. And yeah, but that's kind of where I'm at. That was like a big book that I think um, everyone should read, because she had a lot of stuff happen, and she was like, I can either live my life in one way, or I can find my way to expand my world.
Yeah, that's actually funny that you're talking about. Well, one, that's going to be, if we get to this question, that's like one of my more inspiring books, just because I always say no, because I'm a homebody. So I'm trying to do better with that. Now we're in a pandemic and I can't go anywhere. So I regret all of my no's. But it's funny that you say that, because I don't know if you guys saw, but like she had asked Disney to provide her family with like an extra ticket for her nanny or someone. And Disney like responded literally after years, Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, everything that's brought them money. They were like, don't you have enough? And I read that like she literally went to her team and was like, you have this amount of time to get me a new deal. And like, I think she signed with Netflix now. But like, she was like, listen, you're not gonna give me what I want. Okay, I'm moving on to the next one. And like, it probably is going to pay off even more than her prior deal. So I definitely agree with that. I think we're talking about imposter syndrome, a few different things. We just have to really recognize like, our own power and kind of like stand in that and like, tell people what we want sometimes instead of always like asking, right? Like being more assertive and aggressive, especially in this time. Like, I think that's really when you develop those type of like skills. And so that book is really good, especially if you're trying to like kind of get out of your own, zone. So definitely recommend that too. And the last one, Georgia.
Oh yeah, but also to go back to your book, Elise, that's really interesting because, or just your like perspective of it, because I'm starting to say no more, because I say yes to everybody, like, oh, like, they need to do this, they need to do this, and I'm really saying no because I'm trying to figure out like myself, what do I want? And it's really hard because I don't know what I want. I kind of just go with the flow, like, oh, maybe I'm good at this, and then I kind of am, so I just keep doing it, but I'm just like, I don't like this. So I'm gonna say no this time. And that's why it's taking me so long to find a job. But anyways, for my book, just to make sure I'm doing this right, we're doing the most recent book that
Whatever book like that you feel like it most relates to like who you, like where you are in your life
right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so mine. I have actual books.
Girl, you
so I have like
stuff going
3
on
different stacks of books. But what were you saying?
I said, what's going on in your life right now?
Oh, the bluest. I know. Okay, but mostly about like body image. Like, I feel like at the moment right now, I'm kind of not comparing myself, but I'm being more aware of how like people view me and how like others are viewed and stuff. And like just body image and like sort of kind of dysmorphia too. I'm just not there with it right now, but like this, you said, what's wrong with me?
Yeah, that's a dark book.
It is a dark book. I haven't even finished it because like I really have to take it in like strides. But also I got it because I haven't read a Toni Morrison novel before. And that's my fellow alumna. But yeah, I feel like at this moment I'm kind of like really trying to focus on what do I actually like pertaining to my body too, because I feel like sometimes we kind of just go along with the trends. We buy things that's on trend, hair on trend and stuff, but like, what do I actually want? I'm really trying to focus on me right now. Like this whole panoramic, it shut everything down, so I didn't have the distractions of everything else.
Yeah.
And so I really start to think like, oh, like, am I doing this for me? Or am I doing this to fit in? Am I doing this to attract certain people? Like that type of thing was going on in my brain. So that's why I said this one. And also it was like one of 2 latest books that I've read in the past year. Haven't picked up books in a long time. But yeah.
No, that's great. I mean, I think we're all of our books kind of have a joint theme and kind of like coming into yourself, whether it be like coming into your confidence body, like internally, your body, how you approach things. I think it all has to do with confidence for one. But I think, as we're in this time period, things are just up and down. One day we like our job, one day we don't like our job, one day we, want to move here, and one day we don't. It's like, there's a lot going on, and I don't think people give us enough credit for this time period. Like, we really be going through it. We got to pay for health insurance now. You just graduated from college, and now you got to pay health insurance.
No,
like,
I don't do it.
It's a lot. So I think
that was the
Neither
word.
does Jordan. She doesn't pay health insurance either.
Okay, well, I do. So let me tell y'all, it's not fun.
Co-pays, those not funny.
Yes,
but
I just say that to say, like,
been before insurance, like, it makes me sad.
Wait, what did you say?
When I see what my paycheck could have been if I wasn't paying my own health insurance, it's really depressing.
Girl, when I see my check, so I'm from Georgia. When I see my check living in New York versus what it could be in Georgia, and the amount of taxes that are taken out, like, I'm like, this is not fun. Okay, I could go buy me some stuff with this money. But no, I think we all kind of had joint themes in there, like just kind of like, coming of age and all of the things that go into it. I think that's what we liked about our books, is kind of just relate to that time period. So, I mean, we have more questions. I think I'm only going to do one more just because we're all going into some depth about our books. But my next question was going to be like, some people don't like self-help books, right? We talked about that. I'm not the biggest fan. But do you guys have, any recommendations for like books that kind of are geared towards you finding your passion, or like helping you farther yourself, your career, etc.? Because I think we talk about this a lot. Jordan saying, she's saying no to a lot of jobs. It's just not befitting to her, right? Elise and I have these jobs that are pretty, major based, like what we majored in college. But sometimes I know personally, I'm like, I don't know if this is my passion. Like, what is my passion? What do I want to do? Are there any books that, kind of helped you gain a deeper understanding of that? Or are you still lost like the rest of us? I mean, you might still be lost, but you might have a book, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm definitely still lost. Like, some days I feel super confident in what I'm doing. I'm like, yes, this is it. This is what I've been trying to plan. And then I'm like, but is it? Like, is it really? So I kind of already talked about one of my books that's like not self-help, but kind of self-help, and that was Untamed. But I feel like in general, like, because I'm, like you said, like, I don't really like necessarily a self-help book that like everybody's reading, or like everybody's read, or something like that, like the latest self-help book. But I like to read like those almost self-help books when it's somebody else's life that I can relate to personally. So I try to find those people. Like, you guys read More Than Enough, and we're in the process of reading More Than Enough. I feel like in a sense that's kind of self-help, because you can find bits and pieces of moments of their life that replicate to your own. And you can take like really good nuggets and information from them that you can implement yourself. So that's what I would say. And I feel like we're in the age of influencers. And so I feel like there's so many different options of people that you could attempt to get advice from. But I would really say, like, really do your research about it, because, not everyone is how they seem online. And really find those people who you can truly, like, their background, you're like, yes, I can relate to that. And if they have a book, read it and see if you like it. Like, not saying it's going to be the best book you've ever read, but there might be bits and pieces that you yourself can relate to. So that would be my advice on that one. And then another book that I read that we actually read for work, it's called The Happiness Advantage by, I know his name. I do know his name, but I'm blanking right now. I'm going to go look for it after this. It's called The Happiness Advantage. It's a bright orange book. You can't miss it. But basically, it's about redefining your happiness, and kind of like, we've almost been taught the wrong way about how to be happy. Like, it's like, all right, when I set this goal and I meet it, I'm going to be happy. It's like, but actually then you're just going to set another goal, and you're not going to be happy until you reach that goal, and the cycle just keeps going and going and going. So at what point are you actually happy? That do you actually feel that peace that you've been looking for? So I'm not going to give away a lot of the book, but that's kind of the main theme of that book that I really enjoyed. And it just broke down a lot of scenarios that I was like, wow, I would have never thought of it that way. And it's basically just changing your thinking about certain things can have a really big impact on your happiness and your overall like view of your life.
Sean Anchor.
Sean Anchor, that's what it was. Thank you.
Let me write that down.
Well,
We can
Jordan,
have a little message at the end with all the books we recommended.
Nice.
hey, gang.
Love to see.
Jordan, you flashed a self-help book, right? And like,
Oh, yeah. Okay, so that wasn't gonna be my recommendation, but I do have this. You are a
I tried to
badass.
read that. Yeah, okay, we'll say it.
Sincere.
Sincere,
Okay,
you know.
there we go. Sincere. Yeah, I think that's sincere. Yeah, it was okay. You know, it was okay. I don't know if I finished it. I want to say I don't ever finish books, so I didn't finish it, but I pretty much got like 3/4 of the way there. It was okay.
I remember trying to read that book, and I feel like, again, self-help books are hard for me because I definitely feel that urge, like I don't have a passion, and like I was at a point when I first like moved to DC, like through my job, where I was like, I'm gonna leave, like I'm gonna find my passion within 3 months, and I'm gonna like do all these amazing things, and I downloaded all these passion finding books, and like I could not get through them. They were really hard, and I also felt like it was being pushed down my throat. It didn't really feel like I could like really. It felt kind of maybe more anxious. I feel like it made me more anxious when they would be like yelling at me over pages. I'm like, I don't know, like find your passion. I'm like, you know what I mean? Or like you have an excuse, and it's like, yeah, I do. Like it was a lot. I remember trying to read You're a Badass, and like I did not get far. I remember reading about like manifesting, like wanting money, like money comes to you, and I was like, yes, like you know, I do want to make money, and like I do want that to be a part of what I do. But I bought that book, I bought it from somebody else, and I probably got to page 30.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I was saying I don't think that I think you need to know yourself.
Yeah.
I feel like some people are really inspired by those type of books, but like just the title alone kind of turns me off because I'm like, okay, like
bad. And like
what is this doing for me?
Yeah.
I feel like it could have been an article that I read online, but it was just a lot more words.
I think that's the problem with a lot of self-help books. It
Yeah.
could have just been an article.
Like it was
Literally
just
an article, a blog.
I feel inspired by them. I just feel like it just causes me more stress that I'm not where I feel like I should be. It just makes me more anxious. It makes me more like, goodness. I mean, I bought like startup, like how to do a startup book. I bought a lot of books like the first time. I just bought like passion finding because I was so like, okay, I need to find my passion. Like, and it just felt very, it just didn't feel very like I wanted to do it. I kind of got anxious reading up the book. I'm like, oh, here's the homework, or here's what I need to do. And like getting frustrated when I didn't have the answers to them. They started asking these questions in the book, like, what do you like? And I'm like, I'm not even there, you know? It made me feel more just like antsy, like, oh God, like, am I still wasting time in my life?
Yeah, I think for me, when it comes to like trying to get a book that's going to kind of like give me the feels, give me a little inspired, I think I've realized, which I didn't really think I keep saying I think, but when I was reading, you know, like high school before that, I wasn't into autobiographies like that. Like it wasn't something that really like, I was like, oh, let me get one. And then I started reading them and I was like, wow, these actually kind of they leave a mark on me because it's like, okay, maybe I don't want to do self-help where it's like someone telling me the best ways that they think I can get to my goal, which I don't know what my goal is right now, you know, to be a housewife probably is one. But like these books are good because they all have such different journeys to where they land. And the same way, you know, when you're trying to figure out what your next job's going to be, people tell you interview people who are in that field. These books are good because it's like, oh, well, they started off here. They did this job, this job, this job. It's like, oh, I didn't think about that one. And I think it kind of just gives you perspective. You know, you can have a whole bunch of different types of jobs and still get to where you want to be. I can try this approach to how this person found their passion, whatever it may be. I think that's why the autobiographies kind of stick with me a little bit, because it's like, okay, yeah, those give me the feels, because some people have some really interesting stories, you know. And I downloaded Audible when I was still in the office, and I just used to binge them. So I'd be walking through the office listening to like Gabrielle Union talk about her life, or what's her name, Taraji P Henson, Centoya Brown, who has a really good book. You know, those books are really, I don't know, they just did something to me. I'm like, dang, Centoya Brown really went through it. She done went to jail, came out with a fiance. Uh, Now she has a book, you know, and she's out there making a difference for like other girls like her. Okay, you know, maybe I need to, I don't know. They just give me more ideas, I think, than the self-help books. It's not as much telling me what to do. It's like I'm imagining someone's journey and taking pieces of that for my own.
Yeah. One book
Yeah, I
that I
need to
read
do
that was
that.
actually self-help. Well, I don't know if it was self-help, it was like more like a guidebook that I still think that everyone should read. Is Shan Boodram's book, The Game of Desire. Um, that book I think is like a great debate book because some things that I'm like, that is wild. Don't do that. But basically that book talks about like how to date. And I think a quote that really stuck with me in the beginning of the book was like, we don't take a lot of things for chance. Like we don't, when we go to a job, like we usually come prepared. Like you go to college to prepare yourself for the workforce. Um you do all, like when you buy a house, you don't go like to like up to a house and you're like, I want that one. You go and do research. You get a realtor, someone, an expert to help you. You usually aren't going to buy your own house with your own offering. People are helping you with all aspects of your life. You're not usually like doing your own stitches, right? Like someone's helping you with that. Um, and I find it, and it's in the book, she's like, so why do we like not really lots of up in our life for chance? We always prep for a lot of things in our life. Like when we go to college, we usually go to the school to visit it. We do research. So why is it that we leave some of our like our love life to chance? And I was like, that's a good point because for me, like I didn't date a lot in college. And so I really wanted to read this book to kind of understand like basically a guidebook when I was about to start my journey of like going on all these dates, like what is like the science to dating. And for her, she was like, some people actually probably everyone probably needs help in this area. Like, why do we live in a chance? Like, you're hoping that one day you walk down, like you're in the grocery store and getting a watermelon. I like watermelon. And your husband appears next to you. That's
I
wild.
do
Like,
hope that though. That
you do,
sounds
but
nice.
like, think
Really
about
don't
it.
think it's that
Would you
easy.
want if you had a doctor and you just like, hey, I like that watermelon too. Can you do my, I'm sorry, I'm thinking about my fun class of like, can you do my lipo? You wouldn't do that. You would be like, let me go. Like, you know what I mean? So I feel like, and so her book was really interesting. She took like 5 different women and basically had like a case study for each of them and wrote about it in the book, about kind of where they were in their lives and like, here's tips, here's tricks to kind of really gain more control of that area of your life and kind of make yourself a better person in the process. So I read that book when I first moved to DC. I thought some of her advice was wild and I would never, ever, ever do. But because I'm like, that's some serious level confidence. But at the same time, it was like, you kind of, if you want a relationship, if you want to be in a partnership, you have to put in work. And I think sometimes in our lives, we always fed this like very weird reality um,
That
that
you just wait and the right person will come.
appears, right? And like that could happen, but why limit yourself to this that one thing that you're gonna meet someone in that hallway as a friend of a friend? That, you know what I mean? Like allow yourself to first of all be better, figure out how to date well, so that you can have the best partnership possible. And I think in her book, she took a lot of that stigma away. She talked about how to online date. She talked about how to own your body. She talked about like and also concrete examples. Because I hear people are like, focus on yourself. Like, no, she was like, you on a date, you do this, you have an
Yeah.
hour time frame, so you leave. So you always have something to do after. Never stay for more than 60 minutes. Agree twice, disagree with anything they say. Like just agree twice with what they say, and then disagree one time, so they remember that you disagreed. So it's like, I was like, smart. But I read that book because I feel like it is a good book to read. Some things are up for debate, but one quote that I remember from her book that's on my vision board as well was like, if you live in a world that you like accept that you're unlovable, like that will be the case. And so for me, like I always like, I didn't have a lot of guys coming out of me in college, and I was like, am I just like not lovable? And if you accept that, that comes to reality. And if you accept that and then you expect like a fairy tale to happen, that will also come in reality where you're just left with trash people. And so I think that book was like a good thing for people in their 20s to just not be complacent in dating and to put yourself out there. But it's a crazy book. I can't say it on the podcast, but some crazy stuff that I was like,
I actually might get that right now. I feel like I'm
the
at a
things
pause
that
of
she
dating.
told people
It
to
sounds
do,
interesting.
yo, like body odor. She would be like, don't wear deodorant for a day. No, Shan.
Why would
No,
you do
What?
that? Wait, but what
I'm
was the
not gonna
reasoning
do
behind that?
Shan. I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna get me some to do.
Why did she tell you not to do that?
Some like level of confidence. I'm saying it's like sometimes it's like crazy, but it was
Yeah,
also,
because my confidence is gonna go down if I don't smell good.
but it's like it's something basically. But also she would go. The girls would go on dates, and then she would interview the guys that dated her, that they want to date, and be like, "Where did they mess up?" And like that's crazy. Like you don't want to hear that type of things, but like you also kind of
Okay, so just to add in there, did y'all ever see on like TikTok where those girls are like sending their exes like review forums about them? Do you think Shan would recommend that? I would not, but do you think
she
Shan
did.
would?
So, and I think
Interesting.
she did. So this actually, if you guys don't want to read the book, go to her website, Give Me Desire. And she has this really long thing about figuring out kind of like where you're like, it's a big questionnaire about where your like pitfalls are in like love and relationships, and like that's friendship and love too. And talk like it's super long about like what do you like, what do you don't like, how do you apologize, what's your apology language, right? And it kind of at the end, she gives you just kind of this like output of like where you at and where you need to work on. And it's important. Like y'all want Sierra, but y'all ain't putting Sierra work. So I'm gonna leave it right
Look,
there.
I'm sending Sierra prayers, okay?
Sierra, pray for herself and put some work in.
Yeah, we gotta say the prayer and also write it down.
Sierra's man.
As Jordan would probably agree, manifest it. Because that is her thing for sure.
No, literally.
But I see it. We're gonna get there, guys. All across the board. We're gonna find people. We're gonna become our best selves. And I think we can really do that through reading as well and reading about other people's stories. So I think we'll definitely include the books that we mentioned.
Wait,
in this
can I
episode.
add mine?
Oh, I'm sorry, Jordan. We were doing
I think
really well
Sammer too. You have to have your book too. Simone, you just trying to speed us up. Okay, well let me go ahead and talk since we're on the topic.
I'm sorry.
I don't like paper books, Jordan. Why do you have it? You don't like the environment?
What? I like turning pages, writing in my book.
Okay, proceed.
Oh yeah, I
write in my books.
Yeah, I can't do books on phones, or I had a Kindle. I can't use it. I need the physical book.
Yeah, not some proceed, girl. Anyways, so oh yeah, so mine is The Spirit of Intimacy.
I've heard of that. Okay.
Yeah, I tried to get a lot of people to read it with me so I can keep up with it, and one person did, and then she finished it before me. Anyways, by Sabone Fu.
I'll look it up, Joe. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Okay. But anyways, it's about ancient African teachings in the way of relationships, and I love this book. Like it talks about so many different like ways that you can think about relationships that I previously didn't think about. And it's not even just like intimate relationships like, oh, me and my significant other. It's more like familial, like relationships with yourself and like spirit. And I'm really into like trying to get into like African spirituality and like going back to like what the people who were taken on a boat and came here and made me what they were thinking and what they were like believing in. So I feel like this book has really like changed my perspective of thinking like of relationships through spirit. Like you have to understand that like sometimes you're meant to make these like relationships and you're like fighting it. Like you're fighting your lessons, you're fighting the love that you're supposed to find in life. And like you have to take your ego out of a lot of things. And that's also something with like family and stuff. Like you have to realize like what's the function of these people in your life and like how to properly nurture it. So I really like this book. I recommend it to everybody. Yeah, it's a different perspective. And like you take what you want to take from the book, but basically it's supposed to help let me see, because it's a quote about it. Yeah, it's supposed to like mend our thoughts, our broken thoughts of like Western relationships, like where the itch word vomit, where certain teachings that were rooted in like African teachings have came over here and they weren't translated correctly, or like we're not doing
Absolutely.
it
Yeah.
properly, and so we're leaving out different aspects that are important in maintaining relationships. And so I really like it. It definitely
Interesting.
flips some
Makes you
switches up
think.
there. Yeah, so that was
Hey,
my book
we
that
could
I
all
recommend
use that.
like everybody in their 20s should read, because it's amazing.
It sounds interesting.
This is really great because it gives me so many like things to add to my wish list, and coming. So, I have two books, and I know that everybody is shitting on self-help books, but I really enjoy self-help books. I feel like they get me through like really depressive episodes that I go through and things like that, because in those times I really like am usually like I need to retrain the way my brain thinks. And
Mhm.
so reading self-help books helps me kind of I guess remember what's important during those times. But one of them that I read in my
Oh,
probably
I've heard
one
that.
of my darkest depressive episodes is the subtle art of not giving an F. I don't know if I can curse on here, but it's the counterintuitive approach to living a good life. And I am someone who like is kind of straight to the point, and I totally understand what y'all mean about self-help books being exhausting and repetitive and like, you know, especially super frou-frou ones. So that's why I liked this one. Like different chapters in it are like chapter 1 is don't try. Chapter 2 is happiness is a problem. Chapter 3, which is my favorite, is you are not special. The value of suffering. Like all these things, it's kind of like almost the opposite of what you would hear in a self-help book. And I think that a lot of the times I'm kind of in my first world problems bubble when I'm really like in a dark place. A lot of the times if I take a step out of my body and really just
Change your perspective.
perspective, right? It's so much about the way you're looking at things, like all of us have said. Um, so I like that one. And then one I've read recently is called The Defining Decade. And it's why your 20s matter and how to make the most of them now.
Hmm.
I felt very lost after college, and I was job searching and I didn't really know. I was just I needed steps, and I felt like I was wasting time, you know? Even though I was straight out of college, I was like, I don't know. Just I feel like I'm always trying to accomplish something. And so if I'm not accomplished, it was the first time in my life I had nothing to really accomplish. I had accomplished what I set my mind to, which was my 4-year degree. So I was
Mhm.
just kind of I was just in a weird place. And this this kind of it's like she's like a PhD who does she's a therapist who works with a lot of people in their 20s. And so each chapter is like one person's struggle, and they're all like really relatable things that we all go through in our 20s. And just kind of when you're reading someone else's issue, it's like, oh yeah, like that's the problem, like that's what you're doing wrong. But I think that when it's us or when you're the one in it, it's harder to see the way out. It's not really that clear. So just I don't know, I feel like I like to learn from other people's mistakes, so this is really a good book for that. if you're into that.
That's dope.
Yeah, that sounds
No,
good.
that's dope. I'm glad we got that other perspective because, like you said, we're all talking poorly about self-helps, but I'm glad we could get some self-helps out there. And those do sound like maybe less preachy, more like story-ish, like about, yeah. So I think I would definitely be interested, especially in the defining decade. But let me see how I'm gonna do this because, I kind of already started. But like, I think, like I was saying, it's very important for us to like find other ways to like, I guess, explore this time period in our lives. And I think books are, like I said, a great way to do that. Just reading about different people's stories and their struggles in this time period. Like, it's super cool and relatable, and it definitely gives you perspective to where you are. And like, sometimes it's like, dang, I'm really not doing that bad. Cause when I'm reading this book, this girl was, the bluest eyes, one of those, like I was saying, that one makes me very grateful for my life, But yeah, I think it's important for us to read, and like, I think your platform is really cool in terms of just getting women to read more. And I think we all could read a few more books. It definitely changes your perspective. So, Samara, were you saying something, or are you just mentioning?
I was saying, me too. Like,
okay. I was like, I don't want to,
We have a book club podcast, but like, that does not exclude us from finishing books, from like choosing Netflix. Like, I am not. The reason that we started the podcast is really so that we could all try that together. Because I do feel like the more that you know, especially as a female, I feel like we always have to prove ourselves more than a man. And so sometimes being able to reference like actual like knowledge, like factual knowledge in conversations and things like that, like kind of makes you seem more well-read.
Yes, absolutely. And I think too, like you're saying, just to add a little tidbit in there, but like reading these books too, it really lets you know that it's okay. Like, you're talking about how women have to always prove themselves. And I know, like, today I was having a rough day and I was having a breakdown. So when I break down, I just cry. Okay. And I have to tell my parents all the time, like, remind them, I'm not angry. Like, there's nothing really wrong. I'm just releasing because I'm overwhelmed. Right. And like, I was talking to my boss, like, he called me in the middle of it and I didn't even have time to like get myself together. And so I was very upset with myself because like my voice was like cracking a little bit. I was trying to hold it together, but it was cracking because I was just stressed. And I'm like, I'm not getting the help. I just can't do it right now. But like, why do I need to feel bad about that? We are women. Women have emotions, and so does everyone else. And so I think like, when I was talking about my book, I just related to like the struggles that Elaine was going through and like how she felt her emotions and so we can all find a little something out of these books to like really encourage us, make us feel okay with where we are and what we're doing and just like everything. Okay. Because life is hard and there's a lot going on, so I just think that that's why books are so important. And then the last thing I was going to say quickly, because I know we have gone a long time. I don't even think we could post this on Instagram at this point.
No, you're fine.
But do you guys have just like a quick bit of advice for like something you learned being an adult this week, or even if it's just a crazy thing that happened to you, anything that you want to put out there for these listeners? Samara, you better come up with something because I'm putting you on the spot for a reason.
Why? Wait, you have something, Lana?
Yeah, I can go first so you can think about it.
Great.
So kind of to your point, Simone, about like having those breakdowns and crying and like telling yourself it is okay. Like, you don't have to always keep it together per se. Something that like I was talking to my friends the other week, and I watched this movie Clouds on Disney Plus. It's a really sad story. Like, it's based on a true story, and like me and my sister were bawling, and I just felt like I hadn't had a good cry in a while. So like it was like not only like feeling overwhelmed from the sadness of the movie, but like everything in my own life. I was like, I need to cry some more. So like I talked about it on the last season of our podcast. Like, I do shower cries all the time. Like, going in the shower, putting on my sad playlist and like putting my Christmas lights on and just getting in that mood. Like I don't just let it all out in the shower. It's the best thing ever. And my friends were like, "You do what?" And it's like, right. And so I think they were like,
Sarah was one of those friends, if you can't tell.
Yes. They're like, "You're in therapy, right?" And I'm like, "Yes, but my therapist says it's okay." So
Right.
so I think it's just, you know, kind of being open about those types of things. And that's a really big thing on our platform. And I really like how y'all do like your whole show is basically based on that. Like what's going on in your adulting life that pretty much we're all facing that no one might be talking about. So I think that's really important. And really just, you know, letting yourself be you, and that's okay. Like whatever you are in your adulting life.
Whatever you naturally feel is okay.
Right, exactly. Like, don't be afraid to feel that. Like you said, like, there's so many people who it's like, oh, just get over it. Like, you're 23, like, get with the program type deal. And it's like, no, like, I have feelings. I know I'm a big person on closure. Like, there's so many different factors. And it's like, there's so many things where it's like, oh, I'm 23 and I haven't done enough with my life yet. And it's like, yeah, because you're only 23. We just graduated. Like, your life's just starting at this point. Yeah, relax. Like it is okay. And like I know I'm preaching this right now, but I have to tell myself this all the time. So it's kind of just that reassurance, and having good people in your corner reminding you that also is super important, I think. So and that's kind of a big thing with us. Like our community that's what we're trying to build, like that type of community and source for people to have.
Yeah. Samra?
Okay. I thought of something while Alana was speaking. Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, that was so enlightening. So basically mine is gonna be to grab life by the balls. Because nobody can read your mind. No one knows what you're thinking. If you have been contemplating saying something to someone, even if it doesn't go the way you want it to, sometimes it's better to just get it off your chest. And a lot of times that will get the ball rolling in the direction, even if it doesn't go exactly how you want it to, at least you're taking steps towards something and like you're not stuck. So I would say my advice that I've learned in the past week is just to stop agonizing over how to go about something the right way, waiting for the right moment, because you end up wasting your time doing that when you could just get the answer, you know it, and then you can just like continue living. So that's my piece of adulting advice. Like, just get it out of the way.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull into that and just say, while we're in this pandemic and a lot of us are working from home, don't let these jobs beat you down. Okay, I have a hard time. Like, I always feel like I'm proving myself. I always feel like I have to be on, like online. You know, whether it's late, I just have to prove that I'm available. I, you know, sometimes lack like just walking. Like I sit there, you know, like there's a picture, I don't know if you guys seen, but like literally set my computer like this all day. But it wears you down. And so I think, you know, we're all at that age where we want to prove ourselves. We want to show that we're like capable, like we're good, you know, employees, whatever the case may be. But at the same time, like you are the most important factor there. It's not about that company's like profit. It's about you, right? Like if you are not feeling good, like you're not going to even do a good job. And so we have to kind of find that balance between like trying to do what we kind of define as our best, you know, face, best work, whatever the case may be. Whereas like my mom sometimes be like, why are you on? Are you even doing anything? Like, why are you on? But it's like, I'm home. Like, I don't want to sign off too early. Like, blah, blah. Listen, it's very important for us to like, you know, just find that balance and be like, okay, I'm going to sign off today. I have nothing else to do, right? Like, I don't need to show that I'm online on Skype, whatever the case may be, because it does wear you down. And like, we are too young some of us already be feeling this way, okay? Because we got to work for like 30 more years. So, you know, we got to figure that out. So that's my advice. Sign off, do something for yourself, relax a little bit, because if not, you know, it does become overwhelming and like has moments for those cry episodes that we talked about. So that's my advice.
Take that PTO.
Take the PTO.
Oh my God, I
Jordan
sold
Elise?
something on Depop. Sorry, I've never sold anything on Depop before.
You did?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
good job.
Oh my gosh, congrats.
Gang, 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 gang! Mama's getting paid today. Groceries
So weak.
away.
You guys, Elise and Jordan?
No, we're already over time, so
we are way over time,
just
man.
close this
Okay.
out.
But I have a
Okay.
Jordan
little
has
tidbit.
advice.
Okay,
Elise.
Beyonce with your blonde wig. I'm hungry, so let's go.
What did she
Hey,
say
wait,
about your
every
blonde
time I
wig?
try to talk.
But I called her Beyonce. That's not an insult.
Oh, I didn't know what you said. Yeah, you kind of do look like Beyonce.
She Beyonce. Come on,
This
quick,
is
come on,
the
come on, come on.
best thing you ever said to me. I'm sorry. Okay.
It's the hoops.
Oh, okay.
Jordan, what is
Jordan,
the
don't get
I'm
distracted.
trying to think. Y'all
yesterday?
keep calling me Beyonce. How am I supposed to react?
I'm hungry.
Anyways.
Literally.
Oh, okay. I remember. So I just wanted to say that, you know, in this panoramic panda, it's been a period of sitting still, and I feel like it's a problem for a lot of people our age because we don't know what to do when we're sitting still. Like we always want to be doing something, always want to be in something. Oh, I have to do this. I have to do this. And I always said that I'm the type of person where like I'm either off or I'm like all the way on and I have to be doing 10 different things at one time. And I just want to say that there is definitely a lesson in sitting still. I'm still learning it, so I can't tell you what the lesson is. But you know, if like everything keeps like pushing you down to like sit still, just don't do it. Just sit down. Just, you know, wait. You know, I'm learning that lesson. Like maybe there's something I need to internalize and like, you know, figure out for myself before I try to force myself into all these different things when I'm not ready. So there's definitely a lesson in waiting and being still. You know, maybe by the time this episode comes out, I'll have an answer for you, you know, but I really feel like this is a moment for me to really sit with myself, learn more about myself, like what I was saying earlier, and like really understand what I want and things that I want to do and not what I'm supposed to be doing, what is expected of me and all this other stuff. Like this is purely a me moment, you know? And sometimes we have to take those liberties when everything else in the world is just crazy, you know? Like you have to really focus on yourself and make sure you're right mentally.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
it's a perfect time
Thank
to
you.
take that selfish moment and just
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Well, thank you guys for joining. We really appreciated having you guys on. You guys are super cool. We have a similar platform, so hopefully we can do something again one day. I'm sure we will, because there's a lot of support on both sides, you know, and we're both doing great things, super proud of us. And you guys have a great rest of your night. Thank you for joining us, She Well Read.
Thank you for having us, kind of adulting.
All right.